Welcome back, guys. It's been a while between drinks and between episodes. We're off on tangents, and we'd like to welcome everyone back. As you can see, we're in our respective rooms. I'm back home. Jake's in his room. As you can see in the background,
Belfast.
the poster where we usually record.
Oh
Yeah, as you can see, we're self isolating at the moment due to which is what we're going to talk about today is the coronavirus situation and how it's impacting the NBA and sports in general.
in the world in
Um,
general, to be honest. It's
yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah, that's right. And so we're just taking precautions and doing this like uh, a video podcast, I suppose, like a video conference,
Yep.
and also just so that it's more of a virtual thing, and maybe in the future we could do this more often if
Yeah. But we're going to be having to get
when
used to this type of thing over the next 3 to 6 months, aren't we?
yeah, exactly right. So it's gonna be a little different, but a different type of way we do it. So
Mm.
but yeah, as you can see, we got our J Cole shirts on.
Oh,
Go to
yeah.
NBA.
Reppin'.
We're rapping. Yeah, we saw it. We went to his concert in 2017. I think it was for his 4 Year Olds Only album.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
ages
so it's
ago
that
now.
long. Yeah, it's
It's
that long.
crazy.
Hey, was it 2018? I
No,
can't
it would have
remember,
been
but
2017, bro. Because,
uh,
oh, no, I don't know, actually. Every year in the past 5 years just sort of meshes into one big combined memory for me ever since turning
yeah,
ever since getting out of school, really, it's just all blended into one year. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, now we got the matching uniforms for the
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, we've been for the viewers. We've been meaning to wear this shirt on the podcast because
Every week.
we just love J Cole and
Mm,
excuse me, and we actually talked about this in our previous episode, like these lyrics: "Sell dope rap or go to NBA."
yeah.
Where yeah, so yeah, we're repping J Cole today. But yeah, we'll definitely get into it with this whole global epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it. It's affecting obviously the world in general, and sports sports is no exception to that. With the whole coronavirus situation. Now we don't want to go into like what um, the virus is, but um, just a brief definition of it. It's just a virus that's uh, can be transmitted via droplets or saliva droplets, and it's transmitted between people. So um, this virus started in China in I think late 2019, in a place called Wuhan, and it's obviously been r- sort of rapidly growing throughout the globe, and it's affected a lot of countries like Italy, who have a very elderly population, Spain, USA, and even home back in Australia. It's affecting a lot of the communities here, and what we want to go into specifically is how it's affecting the NBA. And so, Jake, um, uh, give us a bit of a timeline on what happened with the NBA specifically, and how it led to the shutdown or the suspension, to put it in
Oh
Adam
yeah.
Silver's words, um,
Um.
of
So
the
yeah,
NBA.
it basically. Um. I remember the. I think it must have been the last podcast we were doing. It was still sort of coming up the whole crisis, and we
Yep.
weren't really taking it very seriously ourselves at the time. Um, and I remember
Yep.
it was just around the time that Rudy Gobert was making jokes and with the wiping his hands on all the mics, and we were sort of
Yep.
doing the same thing. I know you were taking it a bit more seriously than me, but yeah, at that point in time, it didn't really feel very. It wasn't very close to home, I guess. So it didn't. When
Yeah,
it's easy to make jokes when it's not really affecting you, but ever since then, it's just sort of spiraled very crazily down. So it was around early March that this was all starting to happen, and it hit the NBA in about around March 11th, when
yep,
Rudy Gobert was diagnosed with the disease, with the virus, sorry, and basically it just spiraled from there. So it affected his teammates. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell was diagnosed the next day, um, and then we had Christian Wood diagnosed on the 14th of March, and then after that went to Boston with Marcus Smart, and I know Kevin Durant was diagnosed with it. So it started off with Rudy, and it's basically it's gone to teams all around the league. I know that there was two players in Lakers that haven't been named as well, three players in
yeah.
Philly that haven't been named. So yeah, it did sort of hit and spread around the NBA. But the good thing is a lot of those players that have been named are also starting to be cleared with it. Over the past week, they've started to be cleared. Um, so I don't know what the timeline is for the return of the NBA. Um, but yeah, that's just basically how it started to sort of spiral down from being. There was discussions at that point when Rudy got it that they were going to be playing games not in front of crowds, but just
Yeah.
closed sort of games. And then yeah, it pretty much as soon as a player was diagnosed with it, it instantly went to suspension of the NBA and everything shutting down. So it all got out of hand fast.
Sorry, dude. I couldn't get you
Oh, I cut out,
on the
did I?
audio there. Yeah, cut out again.
Oh,
So,
how far? I just said it just got out of hand pretty quickly.
oh yeah. Well, you're right in the sense that it did get out of hand, like, and it's unprecedented because like no one was going to expect this um this rapid incline in coronavirus cases. Um, but you make a good point about Rudy Gobert being careless and reckless
Mm,
in the sense that he didn't take this seriously, and he admitted that, but the damage was already done to Donovan. But we don't know who first contracted it. Was it Donovan that gave it to
mm.
Rudy, or Rudy?
Yeah, you
So
never
these
know with
these
those types of things, do you?
yeah, exactly right. So you don't know, but their relationship uh, was damaged because of that. There were reports that Donovan Mitchell was quite angry and quite upset
Mm,
with the way Rudy Gobert conducted himself, um, and so hopefully they can repair that relationship. I've heard reports that they have repaired that relationship because they've both uh, recovered from the coronavirus, which
yeah,
is great. I mean, I wish both players are stay safe, and any NBA, the whole world in general. I hope we all stay safe and try to move past this and try to get the season
back in track.
to return, yeah, back on track. Um, but in the sense that, what are your thoughts though about Commissioner Adam Silver's decision uh, to suspend the season? Did you think it was the right move? Given that there were a lot of pressures from the board of governors to stop the season as well. So,
Mm,
what were your thoughts? Like, do you think he was being the leader? I mean, there's four major sports in American sports, and I feel like he took the first leap and made
yeah,
the front runner decision. And because for me, I feel like he took the lead and said people's health is much more greater than the
money.
revenue of sports,
Mm,
exactly, than money. And I felt like it would have been a very tough decision to make,
definitely.
um, but it had to be done.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you
It
in
had,
that sense. for sure. Definitely, like, it had to be done. So whilst I was upset about it, because I don't think there was anyone out there that wanted it to happen, but
Yeah.
and it did sort of happen out of nowhere. It was sort of a joke, and then it was instantly just suspended. But yeah, he definitely did the right thing. I think if he had allowed it to go on any further, the number of players coming out with cases would be much higher.
Yep.
And there would be no way of telling how many players had been, touched or, because it's pretty full on contact sport, basketball. At the end of the day, you don't realize how much contact it is until you're playing it. So I don't think that if he'd waited, I don't think he could have waited another day. As soon as the first player had come out as positive with the virus, then they needed to act instantly. And I think it was good that Adam Silver did that, because yeah, as you said, there was probably a lot of money on the line when he made that decision. And
Yep.
it's not, most of the time you'd think that in this situation they would take money. Money is the most important thing. Big corporations, and it's good to see that at least in this, there's a sort of worldwide feeling that everyone's starting to take this quite seriously, and it's not just,
Yeah.
it might have been, could have been, it could have started with NBA as a sort of example of something that big was shutting down without any hesitation. I think all these other
Yep.
places were like, oh crap, we've got to start taking this thing seriously. And obviously not that just alone, but it was definitely good example from Adam Silver and the NBA and how they've handled it. And I think
Yep.
they've done a pretty good job so far of keeping it very low grade. There's a lot of players in the NBA that we haven't heard about being affected yet. So I think it was
Yeah.
a good decision in the end of the day, and it just won't. It's not the funnest decision for the fans, unfortunately. For us, I
Uh,
still
that's
find
right.
myself
That's right.
tapping on the NBA app daily almost to see, like, oh, has it happened yet? Has it come back?
Yeah.
It's not coming
Yeah.
back.
Well, I'm every morning I'm on NBA on ESPN, and I'm sick of listening to Max Kellerman and Stephen A.
Oh.
Smith talk about the same thing over and over again. It's it's starting to piss me off. Like
Mm.
they they're just pretty much saying the same thing 7 different ways.
Yeah.
Like like
They still got to be making content, and there's nothing to
yeah,
talk about at the moment. I guess that's sort of a good thing that we haven't been putting out podcasts every week, because we'd probably be in the same boat right now. Like, what are we
yeah,
talking about?
yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah.
going on off that, Commissioner Silver's decision to suspend the NBA season, like um, we, we've noticed the NBA are looking for different ways to still promote the league. Uh, I mean, in recent days, a good example is the NBA 2K tournament between players.
Mm, you're
Um,
right.
uh, you know, that which is like something the commissioners just like. I applaud Adam Silver for doing this, because no other league is doing this at the moment, and it's still you're still hearing about the game in some sort of way, like NBA 2K. Um, you always see players putting up on Instagram their workouts, what they're doing.
Mm.
People doing podcasts, players doing podcasts, like
They're streaming as
it,
well. A lot of players have been streaming um,
correct.
whilst they're playing. So yeah, I think it's Twitch streaming or something. Like they're doing. I don't think they're playing 2K, but they're playing. They might be playing Call of Duty or something like that. But it's still
Yeah.
there's still players streaming out there and doing that type of thing. So
Well, no. Well, yesterday I remember KD and Derek Jones Jr. were playing the NBA 2K. Derek Jones took that one out. Yeah,
oh yeah,
KD got pumped.
pumped.
He got pumped. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Took
good.
that L like. Oh, he took that L like a man. So,
Yeah, man.
um,
No, it's
yeah.
definitely
So,
created a sort of connected feeling between. I think if any positive has come out of this virus, it's been there's this overall connectedness, because everyone's been affected by it. Um, not
yeah,
just not just certain people, not just certain countries. It's the whole world is starting to become quite on edge about it, and I think
Correct.
there's this sort of connected feeling that's been being created, and I agree with you in that. Like, hats off to Adam Silver for being someone who's can keeping that ball rolling, and he obviously understands that people probably sitting at home feeling pretty antsy and stuck in their walls, and so why not create some type of tournament between the
Yeah.
players, and I think it's a fun idea. I've been watching a few of the games. I think I watched Trey Young play. Uh, was it? It was Harrison Barnes, I'm pretty sure, and
Yep.
I watched another game between two players. I'm forgetting now, but yeah,
Yep.
I've been watching it just as it's better than nothing, and it's just fun to see just people on the same sort of streaming thing that we're doing, and just making the most out of a bad situation, I guess. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been hitting up 2K myself on the past in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been creating my I've been trying to build my own player up to 99 on the career mode, but yeah, what his name is Lachlan made him. His name's Sharqueef Lips, and he's this ugly bald white dude, and he's the worst. We're just terrible at the moment, but
Yeah.
we're getting there. We're getting up there. So
What's your rating?
oh, it's only like 70, 74, 75 at the moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I'm still like I'm shooting about 19 threes a game and hitting 3 or 4 of them.
Man, you gotta get him in the paint, man. You gotta bring it back to the
Nah, but I'm
80s
a
and 90s
3-point
basketball.
shooter. I'm the next Steph
Oh
Curry in the
man.
league. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
good. It's good to see um, a good use of the virtual. There's a virtual sort of world that we've created with all these games, and it's a good time to be ma- making good use of them, and
Yeah.
connecting online with all these different forms of technology that we have. So it's a good
Yeah. Definitely.
it's definitely a good time to have these things and make use of them. Not every day do you get to be like, oh, I'm just going to spend 2 weeks playing NBA 2K.
Correct.
Now
Yeah.
we
Exactly right, man.
so
And well, well, going off this, I suppose one final question regarding the coronavirus is the money. Okay, so the revenue, like what will the NBA lose um, in terms of revenue? Do you think that the players will have to take a pay cut, given that we still have remaining games in the NBA season and then
mm,
playoffs? Because the league's going to have to think. There's going to be a point where if this drags out to 6 months, that's going to be, and we have to start competing with the NFL. Then in my opinion, I think that the league will cancel the season, and and I don't think there will be a winner appointed, which is
mm,
gonna suck for a lot of people, especially someone like LeBron who's getting into farther years now.
yeah,
That's another
definitely.
year wasted, because he already wasted the first year or last season with the Lakers, didn't even make the playoffs. So
Yeah,
now
this
it's
was going to be his year that will. Yeah, I mean,
what are your thoughts
in
on that?
terms, yeah, it's an interesting question. Obviously, I'm not a professional analyst. I don't know a lot about the books, but all I can say is this is so obviously being in the NBA, the I think the Adam Silver or the franchises, I think they'll be fine. I know that the players are probably earning a lot. That it still sucks that they're probably going to have to take a bit of a pay cut because they get paid for how many games they play. Um,
Yeah.
and if the games are cut down, then obviously they're going to see a bit of a paid cut as well. But in terms of the league, I think the league will be fine. I think all the franchises there will be alright. There may be some that struggle a little bit. I think there's more of an issue that I've been noticing with Australian sports at the moment that are really
Okay.
going to struggle due to the coronavirus. I
Yeah.
know that a lot of the NBL teams are struggling, and I've been reading reports that the Illawarra Hawks, for instance, are looking at new ownership, um, where LaMelo Ball is named as someone who's potentially going to become an owner of the Illawarra Hawks. So that's just the type of
Yeah.
thing I'm starting to see. Um, the Australian sports where there's not as much revenue and there's not as much money to fall back on in a situation like this is really actually being affected. The same sort of thing happening with the NRL at the moment. There's questions as to what team, if there's going to be teams that don't have the money to make it through, and obviously players in this situation aren't on the multi-million-dollar contracts that NBA players are making. So I think there's a bit more of a worry for the sports close to home. Um,
Yep.
as an NBA fan, that I think we'll be alright when push comes to shove. I think they've got the money to make it through something like this, and they're, you know, I don't think there's going to be any issues there. So I think as a sports fan in general, I think it's going to affect the not so popular sports, and that's going to be, the NBL, the NRL, all the Australian sports. I think all the American thing, like the NFL and all the American sports, will be right. And
Yep.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Australian leagues recuperate after this, because there was already a lot of issues with the revenue from the NRL over the past years, with ratings dropping. And yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how that goes, because I know myself, I don't actually spend a lot of time watching the NRL anymore, but um, I can definitely say over the first 2 weeks when NBA was cancelled, the first thing I did was jump onto the NRL. So even that, I'm starting to be like, damn, I'm
Yeah.
missing out on
Yeah.
that too now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll like, I'll be glad to see the end of it, to see the NRL and all the Australian leagues around get back into it, because I think those guys are going to be the ones that really struggle. And as an Australian, we do probably need to spend a little bit less time supporting the American leagues, and support our own leagues for this
Correct.
sort of reason. It's funny because
Yeah.
you look at the NBL, and with, just speaking on the Hawks, with the NBA ownership, with an NBA, with American players taking ownership of NBL teams, it's becoming a more and more common thing. And soon I think even the Australian League is going to have not much Australian ownership within it, and it's all going to be owned by outside people. And if Australians can't afford to own teams and whatnot. So it's just
Yeah.
a bit of a shame that even then, if we did decide to support the NF, the NBL here in Australia, we probably wouldn't really be supporting much in Australia. We're still probably supporting American owners, or
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
all
Well.
it's all going to be a bit of a waiting game, isn't it?
Well. Yeah. I mean, I think the league, or the NBA, I think they're in a healthy place because from previous experience, when they have when the NBA have a lockdown, there's always they're going to lose money, for the shortened season. So um, the NBA have like a reserve cash flow
Mm,
thing, some sort of account set up just to accommodate for that. So for situations like this, yeah, they're going to have reserves, um, and so I mean, yeah, we're going to be fine in terms of the league. To your point about Australia, the Australian league, like, I feel like the NRL, they've been mismanaged for. I know we're going off topic here, but like, um, they've been mismanaged for quite some time now.
mm,
There's a reason why they're losing ratings. No one turns up to the games, but everyone. I think I'd say that the online viewership is much. It would be increasing, given that it's trying to appeal to the younger generation as well. Um, but yeah, like you're right. Like there's going to be a lot of teams in the rugby league that are going to head into administration. They're going to
mm,
need some help from the NRL.
yeah, for sure.
Def, yeah, commission definitely. So
We could
yeah,
even potentially see some teams disappear in the next year or two. We don't know how many of them will be able to recuperate after this. It's just not enough revenue for these in Australia for these things to sort of happen. But yeah, it is something I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see with everything that happens. And I think I think the sense of community that we feel at the moment, I'm sure there'll be people that you care about enough to donate, and I'm sure that everything will work itself out in the end. And at the moment, at the end of the day, whether some sport teams make it through is probably the least of the worries with everything that's going on. We've got to be
definitely
thinking of the broader picture here, and yeah, I think we'll be back to normal before we know it. But for the next few months, we've just got to be taking everything seriously and be prepared to live a bit without some of the luxuries we're used to, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
It's going to be a challenge.
All right, we'll that wraps it up the coronavirus segment. It's definitely something that it's not going to be covered in one episode or one topic. We'll definitely revisit this in future episodes for the viewers.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll briefly mention our hip hop segment. Jake.
Oh yeah.
Only because Jake wanted to put this in.
Yeah,
he was of the mindset that the new Childish Gambino album. I don't even know what it's called. That's how much I didn't even fucking listen to it.
It's just a bunch of numbers. It's like 3 point something.
Oh right, what's it called?
Actually, it is actually called 3 point something. I'm pretty sure. Not 100% sure what the actual name of it is, but
right.
it's got a number. It's got a numbered album. So but the reason I wanted to mention is 3.15.2.20. So I don't know what the significance of that is, but it's a weird album in that most of the songs as you go through, they're just numbered.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know what the reasoning for that is, but I don't think we'll spend much time on this album now because I actually haven't had enough time to listen to it a few times through. And you were saying you listened to it once, so like I think my initial feelings on it were that I was actually vibing with it hard, and I think you had the opposite sort of feelings. So yeah, I actually quite like the feel to the whole album. It's got a real funky, deep, bassy vibe to it. I really like. I reckon if you put any of these songs on in a club scene during the night, I reckon everyone would be getting pretty down and dirty to it. So I like it, to be honest. But I think in a few listens, I'll be able to talk a bit more about what songs stand. I think at the moment there's a standout song to me was Algorithm, and I think most people probably agree with that because it's a bit of a banger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should definitely come back to this album at some point in the next few weeks after you've had a good listen to it, because I definitely think you'll probably appreciate it more upon a few different listens.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look, I had one listen to the album, and I thought it was trash.
Oh,
I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was just so slow.
really?
Like, okay, it's almost sounded like an R&B album, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Mate, look, personally, I'm a big I like it when it's vibey and it's just like really hard hitting. Maybe that's probably why I don't like the album. It wasn't like as hard hitting as is like his 3005 song or Zealots of Stockholm. That it's really hard hitting. Like you can really get on the dance floor to it. But look, I've only listened to it once.
Give it another go.
It could be just like that album you hate to listen to, but then once you keep listening to it, you're gonna eventually like it. So when you hear it on the radio or something, you just you hear a song and you're like, oh,
definitely, it'll grow on you.
You're like, oh, that's right. Yeah, it'll grow.
Even though you don't want it to, you try and prevent it, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a. I would use the word vibey for this album.
Okay. Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting, at least to say the least. So there was a good vibey feel to it, very deep, bassy sort of sound. But um, not only that, it was just creatively different. I would say to a lot of other artists' music. I think Childish is sort of has gone down a more creative track with his music. His last album I really liked as well, with
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the different things he did in that. And I think this might be the last album we get from him, so you may as well try and appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll probably do a bit more on that in a few weeks. And today,
Yeah.
a bit more of a casual sort of podcast. We won't do a
Yeah.
full on segment on anything. It was just a good sort of time to tune in and see how everyone's doing. In terms of a personal note, has how has the virus affected you on a personal note? Everyone, it's affecting everyone now on a daily
Yeah.
basis. So how's it affected you in that regard?
Well, me personally, I'm starting to change my habits. Like I'm sanitizing,
Yeah,
um, daily. Obviously, your general habits like going to the toilet, all that. That that that's natural. So that's always been happening. But I am noticing that I'm sanitizing more than usual.
yeah,
Um, for me, I'm trying to stay away from my parents as much as possible. Just given this whole idea of droplet transmission is really affecting me.
mm,
But yeah, I just want to stay away from them as much as possible, given that they're in the at risk
yeah,
age and group. Uh, and even on because I'm still going to work, Jake. So
mm,
even on the trains, I'm hand sanitizing. When I sit down, uh, I'm even using a mask. But you know that's a debatable subject
whether
about work.
yeah,
So, but I am sanitizing more. I am being more cautious in this. So to answer your question, yeah, that those are the changes uh, the, that I made personally. Even at work, just trying to stay away
mm,
from my colleagues. So,
yeah,
how about
good.
you?
Yeah, well, in general, I just think for me, it's just been this sort of overwhelming feeling of paranoia in that
Yeah,
I could not care less if I got the disease. If I myself get sick, I'll be alright. I'm sure I'm a healthy young man. I can probably sustain myself, and in the
yeah,
off chance I could die. But what I'm really worried about is as you said, bringing it back to my parents, like not
yeah,
so much my mum, but my dad, who's a quadriplegic and is a high risk if he does get this illness.
yeah,
So for me, it's just I just feel constantly paranoid, bro. Like everyone that comes around, everyone that's like my mum's had some people fixing the kitchen over the past few weeks. I've been
yeah,
constantly paranoid about having these random people in our house and
yeah,
um, just yeah, everything I touch, I'm washing my hands after it. I even I've been washing fruit with soap and just everywhere I go, it's been this sort of on the back of my mind. I think as a biology student, someone who studies these type of microbes and all that, I think I've got this
yeah,
extra paranoia about it, which is almost
yeah,
unnecessary. But yeah,
yeah,
I think the biggest impact on me so far has just been stuck in home, eh? Like um
mm,
university was called off 2 weeks ago and we've been on a 2 week mid semester break and that's just been completely what do I say here? Almost demotivating for me. I've sort of feel like I was getting my drive up for uni semester, and then it's instantly I've just lost all my drive for the semester, and now I'm supposed to do the rest of it from home. And
yeah,
I think to myself, how am I going to keep myself motivated for the next few months? But yeah, I think what we're doing is good in that self isolating don't touch people when you do see people. Just keep a good sort of
Yeah,
distance to you, which is
definitely.
hard. It's funny because my grandparents came down a few days ago to see my dad, and I went to greet him at the door, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna give a hug." And then I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, but I want to give you a hug," and I was like, "I'm sorry, but
yeah,
gotta be smart here."
yeah. Exactly
So it's
right.
just, yeah,
Exactly
it's
right.
just I think
Yeah,
it's a necessary precaution at the moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, well, we don't mean to leave it on a sad note, but it is important to just stay safe out there, guys. Please, like on behalf of Off on Tangents, we just want to make sure that everyone just follows safe practices, safe hygiene practices, um, eh, so that everything can return to normal, and we can appreciate the small things
Mm,
in life now, like going to the pub. That's not going to be taken for granted, or just spending time with people that you love. That's not going to be taken for granted anymore after we get past this. And I'm an optimist. I like to think that we are going to get past this, so that we can keep giving you guys great content about the NBA, NFL, and even hip hop. Because
mm,
if it stops, then we can't. Well, what are we going to talk about? Like, it's going to be like
definitely.
the ESPN, just regurgitating the same topic. So
Bro, you
in
know what
that
I'm
sense,
just realizing with what you're saying is we've been taking the 82 game season for granted. Because it's just we just
exactly.
get sick of it, but now it's just like, damn, we were so close
Yeah,
to the end. I want those final 20 games.
yeah, yeah,
You're
exactly.
so
So
right. Yeah, definitely.
so yeah, on behalf of Jake and I, look, we'll endeavor to have more content for you guys in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Uh, and we'll probably do the same thing. It'll be a Zoom recording. So but yeah,
Get used to
stay
the
safe
poor
out there.
quality, unfortunately, guys.
Yeah,
We had that
poor
good
quality.
setup, these good
And
mics
my
and everything.
yeah, and shitty background, but it is what it is. We'll make do with this. So um,
Definitely.
peace, guys. Yeah, stay safe out there. Jake, look after yourself. Look after your family.
Yeah, you too, bro.
Um,
And yeah, everyone listening, keep clean, keep hydrated, keep, what's the word for it? Keep your hygiene well.
yeah,
But yeah, just keep clean, keep washing your hands, and do everyone else around you a favor as well as
yeah,
yourself and stay inside.
yeah.
All right, take
All
care,
right, peace,
guys.
guys. Take care.